here we are. Donington Park, the famous Donington Park. And I'm on a Triumph Explorer Tiger XC. It's the 1200 with shaft drive. In quite a nice fetching green, I quite like it. This is the XC model then, so this has got Y wheels, fog lights, hand guards. Yeah, it's a cracking looking bike. It's a big thing. I've done about 5 miles on it so far and just stopped to put the camera on the lid. And so far, so bad, to be honest. I'll take you out anyway, I'll get on it and I'll talk you through some of the stuff as we're riding. The sun's coming out, so that's nice. East Midlands Airport's over there. And this is Donington Park, where I famously, well, not very famously, crashed my R1 last year. Right, so I'm in a 60 here, and it does pull well, and gives you quite a commanding view of the road, as the Tiger 800 does. It doesn't feel as nimble through the bends as you might expect, just the physical size and the weight. I'm not sure what the weight difference is between the two. Let's have a play. Yeah, it's obviously got that drive, a slightly fatter mid-range than the Tiger 8, but it doesn't have the same sort of torque right from the off as the 800 does. The 800's got a lovely burst as soon as you change gear, as soon as you knock it up. It's got a lovely urgency about it, the 8. One of my favourite things. This doesn't feel as good. Just back off from this car a bit. I mean, it's powerful, but one thing I've noticed straight away is the vibration. I don't know if it's me being very sensitive. I've got a sensitive body or something. I'm sure I have. That's what my wife says anyway. But it's vibey right from 3000. And I'm not just talking, oh, I've got a tingle through me ball sack. I can feel it right through the bars, through the seat, through the pegs. Just take it easy, make sure this car doesn't come out. Thank you. Yeah, there's the vibe. And again at just over 4. Right, let's see what it can do. Yeah, it's a real... It's actually irritating. I'm finding it quite irritating. It's got a nice plump mid-range though when you stick it in sort of 5,000. It's also, I mean, the brakes are good, but it feels obviously heavier to slow down than the 8. Again, I know I'm going to keep making comparisons to the 8, but I think many people will decide or think that they need the 12. That for the type of riding they do. I mean, I suppose if you're touring long distances, then yeah, but I don't know. The 8's a cracking bike and a cracking engine for me so far, and we're not far in. The 8's miles ahead. The suspension's incredible, as it is on my Tiger, and the reason why I think these bikes are so good for British roads, because our roads are in such a state, they're really going backwards. I mean, there's very little bit invested in them, and this suspension, although feels a little bit firm, but you can easily adjust it. Right, 4th gear. It gets there eventually. I suppose I've had sports bikes, and it's not a sports bike, obviously, it's a bike that'll do everything for you. But it just... My 800 gets there, and it just feels a bit more light and lively. I mean, there is obviously a massive weight difference here we're talking about. On the dash, I've got cruise control over here, and it's just like a car. You press the button and then you can set it, speed, and cancel it. You can also cancel it by just knocking the throttle forwards. My display, I've got my information display on here, so I've got total miles it's done. Actually, I've barely run in this. Total miles I've got left, petrol, average, all that sort of malarkey. It's on the bars, unlike my Tiger where I'm over here. The clutch and gearbox is not as fluent and fluid as the 800. It's a bigger unit, and you can sense that. I'll tell you what is very good about this bike, it's very good at small throttle openings. Excellent, very smooth. Smoother than the 8. And I suppose you might want to watch this, or this would be useful if you're thinking about the difference between the two. If you're thinking, do I need the 12, what about the 8? I suppose it ultimately depends on what you're doing. If you are thinking of long distance touring, 2-up with panniers, then you might want the bigger poke of this engine, the biggest physical size of the bike for that sort of riding. I certainly think to take this off-road, I mean I've done a couple of stupid things on the A800, just trails. I wouldn't fancy this. This is a big fucking bike, and picking this up on your own would be hard work. So I suppose it depends. The 800, it's lighter, it's more nimble, it's a fantastic fun engine. It's more frugal, of course. You get a better MPG out of it. Of course, you haven't got. I mean, this has got shaft drive, and the service intervals are 10,000 miles compared to the Tiger's 6,000. So there's that. The deal at the moment in Triumph, the guy was telling me, you get 900 quid's worth of stuff with the bike when you get it at the moment, and he was talking to me about PCP deals. I mean, you can get this bike for 120 quid a month with a 2.5 grand deposit, which is pretty cool. Having a bike like this, I'm paying what, 30 quid a week for it. For the riding I do though, the 800, the filtering, this would be too big. Not that it's not nimble, but I often have to get my foot down, twist my bars around, and I could do it on this, but it wouldn't be as easy. I suppose as well, I don't need this engine for the miles I do. It's fun. Oh yeah. Definitely fun. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm actually a bit bored. I don't know what it is. It just feels too serious, this bike. It's just a bit too ploddy. Yeah, it's quick. It's big. It just feels a little bit too dour. The Tiger's got a lovely light, bright feeling to it. Just skips and it's really nicely smooth, but lovely and light. This just feels a bit of a big, heavy thing, really. And I'm not enjoying it that much. If I went for these overtakes, I know it'd be fun and all that, but the engine, the Tiger 8's got a lovely growl at about 5, 6, and it just kind of comes to life. This one's got it a bit lower down, but it's not got a punch, it's not got a kind of go on, and that's what I want. And it's funny when you think about it, you'd expect that from the 12 more than the 8. But I think in the 8 they've made the perfect bike. I know I'm biased. Certainly biased. Try stand it up in the lower gears. Oh yeah, now that feels quite good. Compared to the 8, that feels more planted. It's probably because I'm taller. The XC's got bar risers on it, and that feels pretty good. You can nicely dig your knees into the tank there as well, which is a bit trickier on the 8. It's still like more bar risers, but that feels pretty good. Yeah, Mind you, I've got the 800 road, which is probably the one you don't want to be stood up on. Overall though, I've not been that impressed, I must admit. Maybe it's because I've come from a bike that I'm really chuffed with. I love the 800. I think it's a cracking bike, and if you get the chance, go and test ride one, because you'll have a lot of fun. And I think that's the word that is kind of cropped up a lot while I've been talking and while I've been riding here, that it's just not as much fun for me, this bike. It's more practical, it's kind of more sincere, it's a more serious bike. You feel like, you know, you're doing distances, and it's gonna do that for you. It's gonna get you there. I mean, I'm not an off-roader, so, you know, people probably slag me off and say, well, this is obviously not the bike for you, and maybe you're right. The road version might have been a better one for me to take out, because I'm a road rider. I like bends, and I like, you know, B-roads and nice flowing bends and stuff, but for me this just isn't as much fun. I haven't felt like I've been having a great time on it, and I took the 800 out for a test ride before I bought it. I took the road out and I took the XC out, and I had an absolute blast on the road, and it was a lone bike, but straight away I was having fun on it, and it put a massive smile on my face. The XC I took out, not so much. And this thing just feels big, it feels planted, it's got plenty of torque, but I think it's the weight. I think it is the weight that I just find kind of dampens that fun a little bit. Makes it a bit more serious. If you are, like I said before, if you're going to be riding this 2-Up with panniers, laden with stuff, and you're into Europe, yeah, then this is possibly the bike for you. But I would suggest, and I'm obviously biased, I suppose, I'm trying to be objective here, but I would suggest try the 800 out. Try both the 800 Road and the 800 XC and see what you think. Try these two alongside each other, because at the moment I'm really looking forward to getting my 800 back, and I know that I'd be having more fun on these roads on that bike. Yes, it might be because this is a loan bike, not my own bike, so I'm being a bit more cautious, but it just doesn't flick like the 800 does. It's not as agile, it's not as nimble through the bends. You know, you can just push the bars on the 800, counter steer, and it just turns really nicely. With this one, it just feels a little bit more planted, a bit more stable. So it's Crumble's vision. If you've got one, I'm sure you love it. You know, I'm not saying don't buy one, I'm saying take one out. I think one of the biggest things for me, I think, is the vibration. The amount of vibration I'm getting from this bike is a real dampener on the fun that you can have. So anyway, I've probably wasted about 15 minutes of your time. I'm going to take this back, and then I'm going to get my 800 back with some new tyres on, freshly serviced, and I'm looking forward to it. So Crumble out, people.